My people, welcome to the first episode of Soul Vegetarian Kenya podcast. And we're here to share the love and spread the love and give you what we got.
Beautiful, beautiful. So as we're getting started, why don't you guys go down the line, introduce yourselves, maybe give a little fun fact or something like that about yourselves, and then we'll get the ball rolling.
Okay. Well, our first episode of our SOULVEG podcast. Hi, my name is Daniellah. I am one of the owners. I am the chef of our esteemed establishment, the creator of the menu that we have, and SOULVEG lover.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right.
Yes, hi, my name is Ammi, also known as the Veggie Man. I'm one of the directors of Soul Vegetarian Kenya, and just blessed to be a part of this wonderful journey and this experience we're sharing with you.
I am Sar. I'm one of the directors and co-owners of Soul Vegetarian. I have the most time in Kenya, so I guess that's why I'm here.
All right, beautiful. So just as a introductory question for all of you, anybody feel free to jump in, but I think what will be important for people to know is what brought you three together and what was the spark that led to the SOULVEG Kenya brand and restaurant coming to life.
I've been involved with Soul Vegetarian in the U.S. for many, many years. And having been in Kenya for 15 years plus now, and recognizing that there was a need for people to be more knowledgeable, let's say, of plant-based foods. All right. So as my team here, my esteemed team came together here, it became more apparent. Now, mind you that opening and running a restaurant was not our first inclination. All right, we were quite resistant early on, you know what I'm saying? But the need kind of overrode the our own personal angst against the idea. And when the final piece of the puzzle, after Daniellah kind of came into the picture, it just made sense. And not to mention that it was a passion, because one of the things I've, as a leader and a businessman, have always been is let people operate in the space they operate best in. And this was a natural for her, and she had a good, with myself and the Veggie Man, she had a good support team, so we felt we could do it. And here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, not to mention, I've also been involved in the restaurant business back in Antigua, and after working our brand there for several years, almost 7 years, coming to Kenya, I was like him. I was like, man, we're not doing no more restaurant. We're done with restaurant business because it's a lot of work. Even the way we do it here, we do it from scratch. Everything is made from scratch. It's organic for the most part, and we put the time and energy in. See Daniellah, what she does as a chef and as an executive chef, because she has a good team now, is really putting in the time to make sure people are getting fresh whole foods. So it's not just soul food, it's actually giving people fresh beans, fresh vegetables. Everything is no frozen vegetables, no frozen nothing. Everything is made fresh. But just in saying that, we came together because we saw the need. Once she came here and we saw, hey guys, look, there is a need here. I mean, people are sick and it's getting worse, and there are no real vegan options. So with what she brings to the table, it was the like you said, the missing piece to the puzzle. But it was almost as if she came out of necessity, not just for us to do business, but for the people. Right. So everything we do here, it was born out of necessity for the people, and seeing the deficit in cuisine, in culinary options in the country, and especially here in Nairobi. And just looking at it and saying, man, if God gave you a purpose and He gave you a gift, then you can't hide it. You have to use it. And that made sense for us to use it.
Okay, perfect.
I'm the culprit. I'm the one that dragged everyone. I'm the one that dragged everyone in the restaurant business. They reluctantly They reluctantly came along, but they have been a wonderful support system and a support team. I wouldn't be able to have done it the way it's done if it wasn't for them. So I've been doing SOULVEG for over 30 years. I was doing SOULVEG in Tallahassee, Florida, in the U.S. I did SOULVEG there for over 20 years, and I brought, when I came to Kenya, I brought Soul Vegetarian with me. When I first came to Kenya, the options for vegan food wasn't very good. And because it's something that I love to do and something I was already doing, I said, let me share this with the Kenyan populace, because it's healthy food, but it's also delicious food. And when I first came, people, the understanding of veganism wasn't very strong, so people didn't understand how good it was.
Yeah.
But now, it's about 7 years later, now we have a pretty good flow of local Kenyan populace or customers that come in to eat. And we have foreigners, expats that come, people that visit, come from the airport, they come to SOULVEG, or on their way home, they come to SOULVEG, then go to the airport to go back where they're from. So this is how we kind of got started here. It was a need. It was a need for the people. It was a need for Kenyan. And it's something that I love to do, and I wanted to share that with Kenyan customers.
Perfect. In regards to what you said with the local Kenyan populace, there's a cultural difference that they might not be accustomed to when it comes to like vegan food and things like that. So how did you navigate those cultural differences to actually come up with not only a menu, but a direction that the local individuals here actually were starting to not only enjoy, but actually engage with on a regular basis?
Well, what we did, we incorporated the local foods. We did not come wanting to bring something that was foreign or separate from what people understood. So we incorporated what we already knew with what people understood. So Kenyan diet is a very highly vegetarian diet, and people, they may not know that. Even though it's nyama choma or meat is a very high part of what they eat. They still eat a lot of vegetables. They eat a lot of fruits. And Kenya have a lot of different kind of greens. So unless you add some kind of animal product to greens, it's a vegan food. They have a many variety of beans. So what we did was what people already knew and understood. We just incorporated. So if you have goat, we use some kind of soy or plant-based item. We make like a curry goat or a sauce, a vegan item with sauce that they already knew. So we just incorporated what people already knew, and that way, they understood it.
Okay. One of the things that's important to understand that sickness is everywhere. It's all over, and my brother Ammi has been working in the agricultural industry for some time, the organic agriculture, and since we've been here, that we've watched cancer rates go up and not come down. And this despite they've been getting more clinics and more hospitals and more this, more that, but the cancer and sickness rates continue to go up. Now, we've understood that is directly tied to what people are eating, what they are consuming. And a lot of it has to do with the pesticides and things that are going into the foods, all right? Down to, even what they feed the animals. So to counteract that, what I'm saying, it's imperative that we give people a healthier option than what they're used to. And that alone, and particularly as we create more awareness, is really driving us forward, all right? And, needless to say, it's a struggle because people still don't attach what they put into their mouths into their health outcomes, unfortunately. And my brother can speak to that much more eloquently than I can.
You definitely dive into that a little bit, and even the agriculture segment of that as well,
right? So
that people really get a more comprehensive understanding of the importance of the starting point of their food before it even gets to the table.
Right. Yes, and well, in that case, we'll take them all the way back to even referencing the Bible a little bit from the Genesis, where it says that you are made of the dust of the ground. In proper translation, man was made from the minerals of the soil. So understanding that we are minerals. We're not just bodies from some random dust. It's actually that word from being translated means small particles or minerals,
right.
which is what we're made of.
Right.
So
everything that's in the soil is in your body.
Exactly. So for us to get the a full, complete mineral maintenance of this body, we have to go to the source, and the source is a plant source which takes it directly from the soil and converts it into a manner that it can be assimilated into the body, and that's what we present here at SOULVEG. We present man eating from his source. So understanding what you're made of, and understanding that when you divert or go to a middleman to go to something that's pre-digested, then it's compromised. And through process, it's also compromised. So there's so many areas of nutrition that's left out, that's not mentioned, even in the health industry, and what we understand in terms of in the medical field and so on.
Right.
These things the proper nutrition is left out, because if you want to have a completely functioning immune system, you have to go back to your source, and the source is the only means by which it's going to be completely maintained and fortified. So on that basis, we encourage guys to not only eat from the soil, but now let's go organic, because understanding that this food that we're supposed to be consuming is supposed to be in its natural form, not contaminated. When a lot of heavy chemicals are poured into the soil, the plants absorb that. Right. When a lot of chemicals, whether it's for controlling disease or insects, are sprayed on a fruit, it absorbs that into the plant, right. And it stays within the cell walls of the plant of the fruit for the lifetime of that fruit. And when you consume it, you're consuming these chemicals.
Right.
So understanding that not only are we looking at going back to our source to make sure we're eating from the source, but we try to keep it as holistic as possible, and understanding uncompromisingly, we say this to our people: your food has been weaponized. Food has been weaponized against you. So let's go back to getting whole foods, organic foods, and we're here not just doing this for the sake of any great praise for ourselves, but for the sake of the people, and to give our people an option that we can multiply this idea, right. So that we can know when we begin to have less and less patients in the hospital, for us that's success. Right. Full hospitals don't represent success for us. Mm-hmm. Less sick people is success, and that's part of our agenda and our objectives in terms of what we do here at SOULVEG.
Okay, perfect. Now, if you could there are a lot of people that perhaps in the West that have already adopted vegan or vegetarian diets, and they think they're doing the best thing possible, but they're not getting their food from organic sources. So even if they are going in that direction of vegan or vegetarian, but it's not organic, could you break down what issues could arise taking that approach, even if they think they're doing the best thing possible, and just how important going organic is in terms of what do those chemicals actually do to the body? We know that the chemicals are ingested, but what do those chemicals actually do?
I mean, it's going to be different from everybody. And, even in the vegan world, you have different levels of vegans, even, you know what I'm saying? And we don't necessarily represent that hardcore version of veganism or plant-based diet, all right? What we do encourage is everybody to kind of take the steps as they can, all right? That particularly if you're new to this, if you haven't been eating a plant-based diet, I mean, start off with 1 day, mm-hmm. Then go to 2 days, then increase, all right? And because the health benefits that you're going to get from that alone are going to help you, all right? And that we know. And so wherever you're at on this journey, because it is a journey, it's been a journey for all of us, because we all were meat eaters at a certain point in our lives, and it continues to take a journey, because for most of us, some of us don't do certain things anymore. Like my brother, he doesn't do wheat anymore. All right, I can't do cashews anymore. So each individual has their own health journey, and it has to be moderated with what they ingest. All right. So we recommend, once again, you take a step, and what SOULVEG does is help people take that step. And at the same time, and this is, thank God for Daniellah, that the food is actually good. All right, that Because before, when you thought about having thoughts about being a vegan, you're like, I got to give up my life and I'm just going to eat, as they say, rapid food for the rest of my life. But I mean, the taste palette here, I mean, it's so wide, it's so diverse. You know what I'm saying? And I have to laugh at many of my carnivorous friends. You know what I'm saying? You only got a small segment of animals that you eat, and I have a whole universe of plants, many of which here in Africa that we haven't even come across yet. So my options are far greater than a carnivorous person. And once again, eating from the land, the benefits from that are far greater. And studies will tell you, I mean, the microbiome of our brothers and sisters here in Africa is far greater than in the Western world. All right, and as any scientist will tell you, that the health is in your gut. So it's literally that whole adage about we are what we eat. Mm-hmm. It's true. It is literally true, and we have to pay attention to that.
And to add to what he's saying in terms of then directly to what you asked as well, is that the chemicals that are being used in the agriculture space, quite a number of them are carcinogenic, and meaning that your body is going to respond to them. So your body's response you have some autoimmune responses, which show up in various forms. So you have quite a number of which the number one of which is cancer. You know, the cancer cells begin to rapidly multiply. So beginning to make that shift, you make the shift towards eating more vegetables, and then you make the shift towards vegan if that's your choice. We know everyone may not choose to be vegan, but increase your vegetable intake. And while increasing the vegetable intake, we encourage our people also to go to the organic markets, or you yourself have a little backyard garden if you can. If not, ABI Organic, our sister company, will help you make balcony gardens and kitchen gardens and whatnot, so that you have a percentage of organic vegetables to help your body fight. Because if your body has the proper nutrition that it needs, it will fight some of these carcinogenic ingestion of these chemicals and all that.
And the funny thing, here's the most funniest thing, that when you go to the doctor, and say, doctor, I'm dealing with this, that, and the other, more often than not, particularly if it's something serious, they're going to tell you to do one thing. They're going to drink more water, eat more fresh fruits and vegetables. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing they're going to say to you. Mm-hmm. All right? But if that's a part of who you are, then that might not necessitate to even need to go into the doctor if that's how your lifestyle is structured in the first place. So a lot of these things that we kind of arrived at later on in our lives, but if we can get our people, down from little people to understand, you know what I'm saying, the value of a plant-based diet and eating properly, that's a lot less sickness, and that's a lot less debt load on a community, on a county, and ultimately on the country. All right.
To add to what they were saying to the question you asked, some of the problems that you see from eating vegetables when it doesn't have all the nutrients, you end up having skin issues or skin irritations. You have mucus problems. And sometimes, even as a vegan, you have those problems, and it comes from the chemicals or even vegetables from the earth because of the chemicals that they put on it. You know, so it's going organic is a whole lot better because it helps with those kind of things. Just to kind of help people to see. And then when you become a vegan, it's as you go through the process, it's up to you how you want to do it, as they were saying. You know, everybody's journey, it's a journey. And you have to be willing to take the journey as far as it goes. And it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. You know, because you have those that do live or raw eating. And that's where you're eating the vegetables uncooked. And sometimes people go that route because of what they were eating before. It bothers them or gives them some kind of illness. And so doing live or raw helps to get rid of some of the skin irritations and what are some of the problems you have? The inflammations, you know.
Yeah, sometimes even in terms of what they call it, psoriasis, and so on and so forth. It's a whole line.
Right. It's a lot that happens, And you follow the journey. Because your body's going to tell you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your body's going to tell you.
And the beautiful thing about Soul Vegetarian is that we introduce people to all levels of that. You know what I'm saying? We have foods that are probiotic, all those ones where we have microbiotic, probiotic, you know what I'm saying, this diet, that diet, all of that you can find here. And we find so many children these days are having reactions to, wheat and gluten-free, these kind of things. These are places where they can come, all right? And once again, because people feel like they have to make such a sacrifice to be in a plant-based world, and you really don't. You know what I'm saying? That there's so much here to enjoy, and people just don't know. And the beautiful thing, when people come into our space and they see, their eyes actually light up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They actually light up. They say, I can have this, I can have that. I mean, the first thing, macaroni and cheese was like first when you first play bacon, like, I'm done for the rest of my life. What am I going to do? It's all over. But when you actually taste our mac and cheese, heaven, complete heaven, when you taste our mac and cheese, and it just gives you a whole new look on life. You know what I'm saying? In terms of what you can actually consume.
Yeah. So now, with that being said, I kind of want to dig into like the journey in a twofold way, where I want to understand where each of you kind of made that transition to veganism and things like that. But also, I want to get a better sense of the approach when you're making dishes, when you're introducing new menu items, when you're thinking about like, how do I bring these healthier foods and more nutritious meals to people in the most palatable way possible without being, for lack of a better word, generic in what you offer.
We're all a bit of foodies.
That's your style.
But I should please,
My journey with veganism started when I was in college back in the 80s. And I went vegan for about 2 years. And back then, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing. And so I went back to eating meat. And when I went back to eating meat, I started getting sick. I started getting real bad headaches. And during that time, I went to Israel and I met a community that the whole community was vegan. And because of the Hebrew Israelite community, I learned a lot of different things that I can eat and prepare. Because the problem was I just didn't have the understanding of what to prepare when I was in college. But once I saw the plethora of food and different items that they did, I was like, okay, I can do this. So I went to Israel and had that experience, went back to the States. At the time I was married, I told my husband that we had steak and chicken and all kinds of things in our freezer at the time. So I said, listen, I'm cooking all of this. And once I've cooked it, I'm not cooking any more meat. So once I cleaned out the freezer, cooked all the meat, that was back in 97, I think. That was the end of, that's when my vegan journey began. So from 97, I've been a vegan. And the longer I was a vegan is the more creative I got with cooking. I'm a Jamaican woman, so what I did was I incorporated that which I knew of Jamaican food and I veganized it. I was living in America at the time. What I knew of American food, I veganized it. And what I learned from the Hebrew Israelites, I just incorporated into my diet. And then when I came to Kenya, what I learned of the local foods, I veganized it. So the journey has been long. I've been doing this for quite some time. I've raised my daughter into this. My grandchildren was raised into veganism. So the journey has been great. As you kind of come and check out the menus that we have a lot of items. We have desserts, we have pizzas, we have sausages, everything we make in-house. But it's so much that you could come and eat. You're not missing anything. You're not missing anything. And we did that purposefully so that people can experience veganism in another way, but most definitely it's healthy. Even though you come into a restaurant and maybe a fast food restaurant, everything we have here is healthy. because we either make it from scratch or we make it fresh. So it's healthy fast food. It's not a lot of oily food. It's not a lot of fried foods. And if you come and you want something that without oil, we can make it for you. If you come and you have gluten problems, gluten issues, or wheat issues, or diabetes, and the ailments that most people have, and it's very hard to still enjoy food, we can accommodate you. And
I
we
think
wanted
it's
to do
important
that.
to mention this is a really important point. This is not for us. This is just not a food item on our menu. You know what I'm saying?
It's medicine.
We understand what veganism is, all right, and we make sure that our staff understand what it is. When you go to other restaurants, for us, when we sit down, we have to have like a 5-minute dialogue, 5 or 10-minute dialogue about what a vegan is.
Sometimes call the chef.
Sometimes call the chef even. You know what I'm saying? And have a long conversation with them. I mean, with the first person you meet, then with the chef, and maybe even with the manager. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes, amazingly, after all that dialogue, they still not get it right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Sorry to interrupt you, but I just had to say that.
And I wanted to also add, our food is also medicine. As Saul was explaining, we understand what veganism is. So we wanted to bring healthy food to our consumers, to our patrons, to our citizens here in Kenya. But it's also medicine. It's good for your body. Because we offer tea. This is just so much that we offer. You could come. You're missing nothing. You miss nothing.
Okay.
And we did that purposefully.
Now, I want to get the individual journeys for both of you, but after that, I really want to dig into the concerns that some people have with making the transition, and even what you mentioned about raising your daughter and your grandchildren. And I've heard a lot of concerns be expressed about, is it healthy for, young developing children and babies to, not have any meat in their diet and things like that. So once you guys go ahead and give kind of how you got into this, I kind of want to dive into that a bit as well.
I've been since 1988. All right, that I started my journey, and coming straight out of college. And as Daniellah has said, that all of us come at this from a spiritual angle, all right, and that really kind of underpins why this is important. But in addition to that, it just made sense at a certain point, because coming from the West, we saw the health outcomes of our aunties and uncles and grandmothers and grandpa. Those outcomes were real, all right? And we had nothing better to hope for, else we took a different approach and direction to the things we were putting into our bodies. And that made sense. That rung true for me, all right? As I've been and as my brother mentioned about it being in the Bible, and it's there. It doesn't take a large translation for this. I've given you every herb, berry, seed, and this shall be for you for food. It's there. It's there.
Genesis 1:29.
You know what I'm saying? With no, once again, with no interpretation, it's there. And that, once again, laid the foundation for this journey to take this walk. That was an important stepping stone, for this journey. And we began our way. And likewise, you get to a point in your mind where you say, this is it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That I'm not, this is it, I'm going, you jumping in the 12. You up on the diving board, you can't back down the ladder. You jumping into it. And we all experienced, your parents thought you were crazy. They even told him that the pig raised him. You know what I'm saying? Boy, why you eating like this? And, you're going home to all the family events. And perhaps that's the hardest thing, because you chose this different path. And, and black people, we have these food cultural traditions. Mm-hmm. And I'll be the first to tell anyone, I didn't become a vegan because I hated, I hated the turkey, I hated the hamburgers, I hated the bacon. I liked it. It was good. But what I liked, I think that I'm intelligent. As an intelligent human being, it simply, at that stage in my life, it simply did not make sense to continue down that path, knowing full well what it does to me. And mind you, it is far worse now than it was then, because then a chicken was a chicken.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The animals actually were what they were.
Yep.
Now it's a whole nother thing.
Something else.
It's a whole nother kind, and the amount of chemicals that they are putting into the animals just to maintain them in these huge warehouses for animals is, for lack of a better word, it's ungodly. All right, and certainly as a spiritual man, you know what I'm saying, that I just can't take myself from that. And I have 11 children. All right, none of them they've been beggars. So this issue about your children can't get, because the first that many times, like, and it's funny because the minute you tell people you're a vegan or you plant-based, they become doctors.
Right.
It's funny that. They're not just doctors, they're nutritionists now. They're going to tell you what you know what I'm saying? And
you need protein.
You need protein.
You need the B12.
I've been on the planet, I'm 60 years old. I've been on the planet a long time. I feel like they call me an elder now. I've never yet to hear anyone die from lack of protein. It just, what happened to Johnny? He didn't get enough protein. And it don't exist. You know what I'm saying? He maybe had too much to eat. He eats too much and he obese. And his blood vessels burst, maybe. But never just simply, you know what I'm saying, he didn't get enough protein. Because at the end of the day, it all comes back to nutrients. So I had to always look at what's my nutrient thing? What am I getting? And even more than just simply about food, because I know sometimes we got to get transfixed on the food. What SOULVEG represents at the same time is about a lifestyle. You know, a true lifestyle shift and change that's going to cause our people to live. Because the way the rest of these systems are structured, it's almost like they're structured for you to die.
Right.
Everything is built around you dying. And this institution becomes an important piece where it allows people to live. That you can come here and live. What we talk about is life. The life is everything is designed to cause you to live. And that's a whole other kind of consideration. And that is really a personal a vow that we've taken. I'm gonna commit to life. You know what I'm saying? And that's when we come in here each and every day. You know what I'm saying? Be it the pizza, be it the shake, be it whatever. You know what I'm saying? The donut. One of my favorites. You know what I'm saying? This thing is gonna cause me, you know what I'm saying, to live and cause others to live. And that's been my journey, and that's what I've committed myself to. Making my adjustments along the way. All right. And in a culinary sense, this is a beautiful journey. In a very culinary sense, this is a beautiful journey to take. And I would encourage everyone to do so.
Okay. Well, my journey, a very unique one, started in Antigua in the Caribbean. I came from a very carnivorous background. I mean, I ate everything. Like just about everything. When it rains, I personally went outside. I mean, you got a bottle, like a beer bottle, fill it with kerosene oil and got your little pieces of cloth, made your own light, and went hunting crabs in the swamps. We used to borrow my father's boat or my friend's family's boat, and we take the boats out into the deep blue, anchor it on a reef, and we dive in there, and we killing just about everything under the water. Whether it was a shark, barracuda, octopus, lobsters, you name it, we were capturing everything, the conch. So, and then back at home, when my parents would bring home, whether it was chicken or goats or whatever, then I was the assigned butcher. And so whether it was rabbit, turtles, goats, sheep, cows, you name it. And then we used to go hunting for birds in the bushes. So I came from a background where we were like hunters. And in the Caribbean back then, it was still where I lived was close to the ocean, not as developed. So we hunted birds and got all sorts of stuff out in the mangrove swamps and different types of fish. So I came from a very carnivorous background. But it was a point in time in my life when I began to search. Because I wanted to find the greater meaning of life. So what is this life all about? Because we were having so much, we thought everything was just fun. And then you become an older teenager now, beginning to go step into working. You're making money and you're moving and you feel like, okay, I'm making money, I have a car, I have everything I need, but what is life all about? So mine was more of a quest for God and greater meaning for life. And that's when I met one of the brothers from the African Hebrew Israelite community. I called him my angel at the time. He came to me, and when he started speaking to me about who I was, so some of it was straight in your face. Did you know why you were enslaved? Why our ancestors were brought into the Caribbean as slaves or into America? Did you know the Bible is an African history book? Did you know that we were not just cursed? Africa was just not just cursed, but it was because of our disobedience to God why we ended up in slavery. Why we ended up here. And now why we're given this deadly carnivorous diet is one that keeps us disconnected spiritually. Right. And it's also designed so that we become the top of the food chain for the big pharma. So it was quite a number of things that was shocking me. I was like, what, you serious? But I became a vegan overnight in 24 hours of having that conversation. I literally became a vegan within 24 hours because everything he was saying to me made sense. My heritage being tied back into the biblical Israelites, my heritage being tied back into being an African and Africans and who we were supposed to be leading the way and showing people how to live. Understanding that we were supposed to be a light. I said we can't be a light to the world if we're sick. We cannot lead anybody anywhere if we're gonna constantly be in the hospital. And even so for me it was a wake up call. It was a major wake up call. Like, boy, you gotta wake up. It was like that. And my journey continued on with beginning to run into the wall. The big wall was family. Because now beginning to speak to my family, like he said, they would tell me, "Why the pig raised you? You're crazy. Like, you stupid." I thought my mom raised me, not the pig. They were like, so then it was the big wall, and the biggest wall for me was seeing not only my parents but my uncles, my aunts, my cousins getting sick, and the challenge I had in my early days was trying to communicate to them that I stumbled upon something, or God gave me some insight into something that you wanted them, because these are people you love and care about. You love them with all my brothers, my cousins, my aunts, uncles. I love them. Like, these are the people I had the greatest love for on the planet. That's all I knew. Outside, my friends who also love daily, and to your friends as well, you guys you grew up with, you really want them to get it. So for me, it was like, man, how could I get to these people? And I felt like I failed. And then when they started getting sick, and I was constantly being called to come to the hospital because the doctor said, Uncle so-and-so can only eat your food now. Auntie so-and-so can only eat your food now. Your cousin can. I said, this is not my food, this is God's food, this is food from God. So, but for the fact that the health industry was designed with lies to tell our people, to convince our people that you can consume these things, knowing that on the other side of it, you're going to become a customer or a client or a patient of the pharmacist or of the pharmacist of the hospital, and eventually, fast track to the graveyard. Right. So for me, having to be that person to now go and see my relatives in their worst state, right. The people I love, including my mother, including my aunt, including the uncle, including my cousins, seeing them in their worst state, I'll accept that. That's my blueberry shake. I'm not gonna turn that down. You can stick the straw in there for me. You can stick the straw right in there. I'm not gonna turn down that blueberry shake. You see, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about the good stuff. Yeah. We're talking about the good stuff. This is a blueberry shake, by the way. Completely vegan, made from organic soybeans. That's grown right here in Kenya.
Strawberry shake.
I drank mine already.
He had chocolate shake.
And to be able to come to this at this point in my life, that I can enjoy this with no animal products whatsoever, knowing that it's actually regenerating my cells, is great for me. So, as I was saying, it's now running into that wall and being that person to see my family members in their worst state And the painful part of it for me, what hurt me the most, is knowing that it didn't have to go like this.
Right.
I said, the doctors, and they teach, this is what we're taught in school. This is in the educational institution. So we're talking about sickness and disease and death being institutionalized.
Right.
Embedded in it. And this is what we have been given as children growing up, that you have to eat this beef, that you have to have this milk, that you have to have such and such. With all these things, we realize they were lying to us. If they weren't lying to us, then I would not be beside my auntie for the last 2 weeks of her life, trying to give her some vegetables, where if she had started eating this vegan food, sorry, I'm spilling my shit. If she started with this 15 years ago, when we started the conversation, 10 years ago, then she would not have been here, and I would not have been in such pain. I would not have been in tears. Right. So that was a painful part for me. That wall was a painful part, because I was the one constantly being called. And I was there, I made sure I was there, and tried sometimes taking food, whether it was a veggie burger or just taking some salad or taking some greens and some ITA food or whatever. But I knew that this narrative, we have to rewrite this narrative.
Right.
So institutionalizing challenge. Yeah. So institutionalizing what we're doing now in terms of soul vegetarian. Can you hear it? We're back on the motherland. We're back at home base. We're back at home base. We're back in the motherland. But the thing is, what are we going to do differently for our people than we were able to accomplish in the West? We tried our best in the West, and wherever we are, we never stop doing or trying to present our people with viable life options. Right. Like real viable life options. So my journey, it had some pain along with it. Even in the early days of getting started, I think that was the most painful part for me, because I was not just a popular guy, and I was among my family members and friends. We stayed connected. So when you felt like there was something that was disconnecting you, I felt like I found the truth about myself and my African Israelite heritage, about diet, about food, about agriculture. But then it became somewhat of a point of discrepancy, and there was a bit of a scar in our relationship, because I chose not to follow that narrative anymore. I chose to not continue to go down that road that we were that orchestrated, hellish or deadly design for our people. I decided I'm not going down there anymore. I'm walking towards life. I'm going towards God. I'm going towards nature. I'm going towards myself, towards a higher self. So food for me is not just it's more than just nutrition. It's also, I try, at this stage of my life, I try to consume as much as possible high energetic food, which is another conversation we can have in another podcast, because food has to give you energy. So you consume high energy food, and also connecting to nature, connecting to the soil, and the spiritual essence that goes into all of that. The soil being a living organism, your food being alive. So praying before your food, activating minerals and activating another energy from the food. So at this stage in my life, this is 31 years later. This is 31 years later now. I've been a vegan for more than half my life, and now the conversation is different with family and friends, because I'm speaking to them as someone who is almost like a stranger. I'm the stranger now, speaking to them, and what I say begin to make a little bit of sense, because we have lost so many people from the same thing. We have seen so many people die from the same diseases, the same cancers, the same diabetes, the same hypertension, the same high blood pressure, the same thing over the prostate, you name it, over and over and over, the same thing. So we encourage our people, not just in terms of returning to a plant-based diet, but returning to nature. In your skin products, in your hair products, in your soap, in your shampoos, in everything. Right. Because of the heavy chemical consumption, the skin is the largest organ. So the heavy chemical consumption that we have found ourselves over a lifetime has some repercussions that we call natural causes of death and diseases when they don't have to be so. Right. So what we're doing here is a revolutionary start in Kenya. It's a revolutionary position to give our people some life options now, to begin to shine the light of what life should look like.
Right. Okay. It's not so much to we didn't want to kind of come in like the colonizers, all right, and force our way. You know what I'm saying? But be an inspiration to our people to show them that there is a difference. You know, who are we to come and tell the Messiah you need to give up thousands of years of existence, for this? All right. But if we can come and let us dialogue, and talk to each other, and see if we can't get some different outcomes for everybody. You know what I'm saying? And that's really what we act at. Because all our stories have the same thread that runs through. We've all been through the same exact experiences. You know what I'm saying? My parents, bless their souls, are not here any longer. And once again, all of it you can just kind of go back to lifestyle. And I think the important point, this is culturally who we are. We talk about the Adamic civilization or the Adamic man, how man was created from the dust of the earth. This is a cultural thing for us. It's just not, once again, a business model.
Right.
This is a cultural model. Mm-hmm. And if our people assume this cultural model, then ye shall live. Ye shall surely live. Not ye shall surely die. Ye shall surely live if you assume this cultural model.
I just wanted everybody to know while we're here, this is our blueberry ice cream smoothie. The ice cream is made in-house. We make the ice cream ourselves.
You mean no Ben and Jerry's?
No Ben and Jerry's. Okay. The blueberries are fresh blueberries. We freeze them to help with the smoothie, but it's fresh blueberries, not something you buy packaged from the store pre-frozen. The milk that is used to make the ice cream, we make the soy milk from organic soybeans. In this smoothie, there is no sugar because my brother here, he doesn't do brown. We do brown sugar and other kind of natural sweetener, but he doesn't do sugar at all. So if anybody's asking, hey, are they drinking? I thought they don't do dairy. This is no dairy. This is all made. This is plant-based, and we make it. So 90% of this smoothie, actually 95% of this, we make all this in-house. So I wanted to share that.
And it tastes good.
Yes, it does taste good.
Yeah, but if we talk about this cultural shift, all right? Because you go to every supermarket, all right, in this country or anywhere, they have a section in every supermarket called healthy food. Mm-hmm. It's a small section, not a big section, all right? Now, if they would say out their own mouths, okay, this is the health, then what is the rest of this stuff in the supermarket? If you identify this as the health food section, then what is everything else we said? At least we can say it's less healthier than the stuff on the smaller shelves. But societal-wise, I mean, if we just take the meager soybean, it is such a powerful thing. And the Japanese and the Asian countries have understood this for thousands of years. You know what I'm saying? That that one thing alone is a complete game changer. But society-wide, it upends a whole segment of the agricultural community that they're not about to let go of. Because you're talking about your milks, your cheeses, your this, your that. I mean, it upends all of that. All right? So what we're talking about here is not just, this thing has real society, things, what I'm saying, ripple effects that ought to be taken seriously. So, but once again, rather than have an imposing view, what I'm saying, about this, or just a real, let's say, just be aggressive view about, about veganism, what I'm saying, we make it we talk about it as a personal journey. All right? Because one thing is true, that you do have to choose life. It is a very conscious choice about what you put in your mouth each and every day. And I'm not saying it's easy all the time. Sometimes we go certain places and all you can eat is a potato. All you can get is a plate of fries. You know what I'm saying? And so it's not the necessarily easy way. It's just the best way.
I think it's very important that you touched on, I guess, a twofold thing here with the cultural importance, but also the, I guess, strategy when it comes to sharing the information with other people.
Right.
Because you've all had those struggles, especially in the past, with trying to inform family and friends about where they should be pivoting with their diet, and it wasn't received very well. Right. So you have a lot of experience with perhaps how to and how not to try and present these things to people. And I think on a cultural level, the West, based on my own experience and things that I've seen even other people talk about, I don't think they've figured out a way to share that in a way that's really palatable and doesn't have that aggression like you mentioned. I think that sharing it as your own personal journey and coming from that angle is going to be really helpful long term. But when it comes to the cultural differences, I want you guys to kind of speak to just how much of a critical part that is when it comes to even the unhealthy side of things. Because as Black people, we know that there are certain things culinarily that might be common in a lot of Black circles and Black cultures that, regardless of how much might taste amazing, are very much so not healthy for the body. And there are certain things that affect Black people disproportionately on a health basis that don't seem to affect other ethnic groups and other cultural groups the same way, even if they do still eat certain meat products. So if you could kind of dive into that a little bit.
Well, my brother said something important that I think is that we have to internalize. That the diet that we were given from our oppressors has really defined who we are and defined our health outcomes. All right. And, we call this soul vegetarian, all right, because there's such a thing in America. Being from the South, we came out of a tradition of soul food. Yeah. All right. And literally, for us, it made our soul feel good. But within that pantheon of things were some extremely unhealthy things. But they were things as a people we came to enjoy because we ate them when we came together. You know what I'm saying? We ate them in times of joy and sadness, what have you. They were part of our culture. It culturally defined us. Mm-hmm. So we didn't want to lose that. All right. So we brought that forward and we veganized it or made it into a plant-based things that we could enjoy. So not only did the cultural aspects were maintained, but we were healthier at the outset, at the end of it. All right. And this is like, what Ammi was saying, that, these health come out that we were getting, you know what I'm saying? I never forget, I went to my, I was a vegan then, and I went to my uncle's burial. And after every burial, there's always this huge meal. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Every time, that's part of our culture once again. And I'm sitting there looking at these people and looking at the things they eat. And I said to myself, that's going to be the end. Do we not understand? I want to just get up and scream like, yeah, y'all, this is the wrong way. We're all going to end up in the same, we're all going to be doing the same event for each and every one of us. And once again, it's such a personal choice. You know what I'm saying? It's a very personal choice. And I can look up at 60 and I ain't on no drugs. You know what I'm saying? All of us, none of us on any drugs. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We don't have to go, unless this something we got to just, whatever. But they don't on no consistent drugs. But you look at a lot of our classmates and people we grew up on, a lot of them on hypertension medicine, they're on this medication that they have to take. All as a result of life choices. So this cultural thing that we're talking about is critical mass. All right. Soul vegetarian, yes. But let's make it plant-based. Mm-hmm. All right. Because food is a part of, Black people. We love food. We don't love nothing else. We love a plate of food. We often, some cultures, they offer you a glass of wine when you come in or this or that. Us, It's gonna be a plate of food. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You go home now, they're gonna give you a big plate of food. You know, if you eat. That's just who we are.
Just jumping in because he mentioned we have no medication. I just wanted to take the opportunity to plug some health supplements, or the Vegeman health supplements that we're launching next week. So you're gonna have your moringas, your baobab, your nettle, root and leaf, your ashwagandha, etc. So we're launching the Vegeman health supplements right here at SOULVEG. So just to plug it, because quite a number of our people are on some kind of medication, and these medications are as a result of eating something that's been damaging us for so long. So what we're offering now is health boosters. So these health boosters include the dehydrated herbs and powders, etc., that are going to give you the opportunity to like jumpstart some things and take your health to the next level. And for those who decide to go vegan and not having access to everything they may think that they need, then you supplement it with these with these high nutrition, very potent supplements. So we're bringing that to the table. It's going to be available right here at SOULVEG, and just wanted people to know that you don't have to. There's no such thing in calcium deficiency as protein deficiency in this space, and given the proper education of what even your something as simple as your greens and what some of your greens are made of. Most of these greens are high calcium, high iron, high protein, unknown to a lot of people. So if you eat greens every single day, eat a salad or some sort of green vegetable every single day, eat a fruit every single day, and preferably a fruit indigenous to where you're living, because most times the indigenous fruits are more potent than some of the imported vegetables that are highly sprayed and so on and so forth. But just encouraging our people, it's not rocket science, it's not extremely difficult, and we're here to support you. This is an institution that's designed to support you go on this journey, whether going vegan or just needed to increase your vegetable intake. We give you it in the most tasty and delicious form we can think of.
And this is really ancient wisdom. I mean, many times here, you might see, particularly if you in the villages and stuff, you might see a Maasai walking around with a pack of herbs and tonics and things. And so we're just bringing the ancient wisdom forward more than anything else, and kind of come and upend and change anything. We're bringing that wisdom forward, and beautifully. I mean, what's been said earlier, that our people here are very plant-based for the most part. They just don't know it. Mm-hmm. And if one of the things we have seen, that as they become more Western in their thinking and feeling like they have to be able to kind of offer their kids these kind of prepackaged foods and the fast foods to feel affluent, because the more they take on this Western diet, the more they assume these Western diseases. Mm-hmm. All right, that's a fact. And so we're here to kind of, really kind of add energy to that phrase that your wealth is your health.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And move in that way, because I'm always reminded about Steve Jobs. All right, in his latter days, with all his money, with all his fame, with all his whatever. You know what I'm saying? That the thing that he couldn't really get a handle on was his health. And he ended up dying, as a result of health issues. All right. And that does not have to be our fate as a people. And Africa is dealing with so much, you know what I'm saying, politically and otherwise. If we can at least take hold of the thing that's ours, which is our own health, then that's one less battle that we have to fight. Mm-hmm. And when we can come together as a people, all right, we can deal with all these other things, but we have to be a healthy people. Because no society can be built on the back of sick people. Mm-hmm. That's funny.
I wanted to add, just going back to the question we asked about the American diet and going to the history of that. The diet of soul food was something that was given to us in slavery. We had the worst of the pork, which pork was not something we ate like that coming out of Africa. We had the worst of whatever vegetable, whatever meat, But one thing that the slaves knew and understood, and I learned this not too long ago, the spices that they used in the food that they cooked were spices that was medicine and helped to counteract some of the foods, especially pork, like cloves. When you cook cloves in pork, it helps with the worms that's in pork.
And the parasites.
The parasites is in pork.
Right.
You know, so the slaves had the intelligence of what herbs to use and what medicine was needed to counteract the poor diet that was given to us. Right. And so we had the collard greens, we put fat back. When I like it was for flavor. You know, so it's like the diet of soul food diet that was given to us. We came to cherish that because that's all we had to eat. Okay. And we formed events and coming together around those kind of things. And it just carried on through to today. But a lot of us don't know our history like that to understand where that kind of food came from. But we were agrarian people. You know, we ate more of greens and vegetables and fruits more than anything else, and you can see here in Kenya, you know. But we ate what we could get, and we made it taste good. That's what we did with soul food.
Because this makes us special too. That island flavor that I think really the both of you from being from Antigua and being from I think you should say something about that.
The foods. What do you mean, like that?
I can answer that. What was given to us as slaves when our ancestors and our fathers and mothers were in slavery was the pig's tail, the pig's feet, because they ate the body of the pig, the heavy thing. They gave us the ox tail, the tail of so what we call bullfoot soup, and ox tails and the chicken back and neck were the pieces that they didn't want. That was mostly full of bones and they wanted to get rid of it. Even the pig ribs, what is a delicacy in the islands today. So you talk about the ribs, the tail, the nose or the snout, and then the intestines of these animals that was supposed to be thrown away. That our people, for the sake of survival, figured out how to take these intestines and make something for our children to eat and whatnot. They were the most unhealthy part of the animals that were given to us. That were so many toxins lie. I mean, if you think of intestines, you know, it's
species.
But we call it in the Caribbean. We call it blood pudding and rice pudding and all that. In
we
the States,
call it tripe in Jamaica.
Tripe and in the islands they call it chitlins and whatnot. Right. But these were all rejects, and we took them, make them flavorful. But they became a part of the soul food diet in the Caribbean and America, right. And that's what we had to flavor and put spices in to try to cut the toxins and the parasites down. But we flavored these things, and they were a part of slaves coming together, and later they became a part of our families, family gatherings.
So we moved away from all of that. I mean, and created a whole nother kind of space where people could come into this institution.
We moved away from it, but we didn't move away from the flavor.
Right,
and
right.
That's what we held on to.
There we go. We didn't move away
because
from the
flavor was spices.
Right.
Yes. Seasoning, herbs, and spices.
I mean, if you just go out and grab a goat or
it doesn't have a flavor, right?
I mean, just just slapped it and seared it or that. It tastes like nothing. It is the spices,
like the jerk. You can start telling them about the jerk. She does a Jamaican jerk.
So, if you're Jamaican, and some other people, you know about jerk goat, jerk beef, jerk fish, just jerk, just jerk. But jerk itself is a spice. So my mother taught me how to make fresh jerk seasonings from way back when I was in college. And I used to do jerk chicken. That's when I cooked meat. So we used to jerk chicken, but the chicken itself got it from spices that we mixed up together, and and jerk the chicken. So I learned how to make the spices for jerk. So now we have plant-based jerk items: jerk gluten or seitan, jerk tofu, jerk mushroom. So it's jerk burgers. So it's the spices that give the food taste. And so we held on to the spices.
And these same spices, I mean, as coming into this now, the spices have so much micronutrients as well. It wasn't just simply, spice just for taste sake.
Right.
That the spices themselves had a lot of micronutrients. You know what I'm saying? And when we're growing all these things ourselves, like you growing the basil, you're growing the oregano, you're growing these things in your own backyard. I mean, and that's the relationship between API Organic Agriculture and Soul Vegetarian and the school. You know what I'm saying? Gives so much because it just kind of completes the system. All right, and I mean, and we know that. I mean, the joy you get from growing your own things. You know what I'm saying? Because in essence, we're talking about love here, y'all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Love for the love for the land. Because we're not going to do anything that pollutes the land. Mm-hmm. All right? The love for ourselves, because I'm not going to do anything that pollutes my body. Mm-hmm. The love for my community. We're not going to serve our community anything that's going to kill it. Mm-hmm. And last and not the most important, the love for our children. Because when we give our children, this is going to cause them to live. And I just want to stay around to see how good they're going to get it. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of like my motivation here, to stay around as long as I can. Because you get into that grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and you can see them where we all becoming a centenarian. It's nothing anymore.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And creating these blue zones. I mean, because how is it that we got elders who are in the village live longer and healthier lives than those in the city, with their hospitals, with their higher incomes, with their drugs and their access to good health care and good insurance programs? How is it that Shosho can outlive our children in the city? How is it? It's because of a very natural, a very organic, a very earth-based lifestyle, an earth-based culture that gives us that ability. And that's what it's going back. So we're going forward to really kind of come full circle back to who we really were as a people culturally. Mm-hmm. And so much of it is embedded in the food. I know we talk not to think about it like that, but it's all embedded. You are what you eat. That's the truth. It's all embedded in the food. That's the truth.
You know what? I think that is like probably the best possible way to end this first episode. I had a bunch of other questions, but I feel like that kind of embodies what the SOULVEG mission is at its core. And I think that's definitely the best way to end this off. So before we, close everything up, if there's anybody want to give any last remarks, have any other things you want to mention, maybe favorite dishes people can come try, anything like that before we head out?
I love the chocolate chip cookies. I'm a cookie fiend. The cookies are fantastic.
And I would tell anyone, if you are in transition and want to begin the process of shifting away from heavy consumption of meats, we have the barbecued yamachoma, which is like your barbecue ribs and whatnot, but this is all made from meat. And the barbecue sauce is made right here from scratch. Or barbecue sauce or ketchup and not bought in the stores. They're made right here from fresh tomatoes. So you want to start the transition, we have stuff to tantalize your taste buds, let me say it like that. And you tasting the same thing, but a much healthier option.
Well, for me, two things. Our vegan pepperoni pizza is a must try. And our brunch. I'm a pancake person. Breakfast was always scrambled eggs and pancakes was always my thing. So now we do scrambled tofu or scrambled cauliflower if you don't want to do soy, and pancakes and skooma or greens, potatoes, hash browns. So we do all of that. But I also wanted to mention one of the things that I really love about what has come out of what we've done is being able to feed our children or the children that's at our school. So the children at our school, the meal that they get is fresh meal daily, and it's vegan. So the vegetables that they get is not frozen. Everything is fresh, sometimes organic, fresh beans, nothing frozen. Everything is fresh that is good for their bodies. Low in sodium, because we use sea salt or pink salt. We don't use table salt in anything that we do other than to wash vegetables. But to be able to feed the children at our school, I think is one of the greatest things that came out of what we do here.
And that makes it sustainable when we teach the children.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's less absenteeism and less colds. I mean, just a healthier child all the way around. And they go home talking about eating their vegetables. Because they do what they see their friends do, and it's just a part of who they are.
Yeah.
And that, when we see the children and we go there, that puts a smile on our face about everything. More than anything else.
All right.
I remember
Perfect.
you asked that question about the children. We could do it at the next podcast.
Yeah, we'll save that for another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think having no shy here for that one would be good. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so next time we're gonna dig into that more, and thank you everybody for watching.
All right.
Thank you.
Man, thank you for having us.
so
Thank you
much.
guys. Love you all.
All right.
Bye.